Victims of sexual abuse say USC is fighting legislation that supports survivors.
And as former Vice President Joe Biden enters the race for president, we talk to students about the issues more important to them.
See It Live starts now. Students gathered at Bovard Auditorium today with their mouths covered with duct tape.
It symbolized how sexual assault survivors have been silenced here at USC. Annenberg Media's Tanvi Varma is outside Bovard Auditorium right now.
Susie, it's quiet now, but that was not the case 2 hours ago. Right in front of me, right here, there were students sitting down holding signs that conveyed their support for sexual assault survivors on campus. Behind me, there were 15 people from DPS waiting in case any sort of violence or arguments broke out, given that this is an emotional topic. Emotions were flaring. People were chanting, crying, and most of all, survivors were sharing their stories openly.
These USC students are fed up with the university after learning administrators hired a lobbying firm to help strike down a bill proposed to give survivors an additional year to file cases of sexual abuse.
There needs to be more moral urgency around the fact that hundreds and thousands of current and former students and alumni have been abused at the hands of trusted campus physicians.
Students from Trojan Advocates for Political Progress, known as TAP, organized this sit-in and asked survivors to tell their stories.
If the university had acted when it received the first written complaint filed against him 30 years ago, it would have easily saved over 10,000 women from seeing him and from being victimized by him. It would have saved me from being sexually abused.
Organizers have been passing out this ribbon for students who want to show their support for campus survivors.
Ribbons are just generally established way to express support publicly as something you can put on your clothes.
TAP urged students to call their local political representatives to show support for the bill and take one small step to protecting survivors. Some feel USC hasn't done enough.
Really, all this opposition does is further prove that USC has truly no regard for the well-being, whether physical or emotional, of students on this campus, but especially survivors of assault.
TAP is demanding that USC put the same amount of money it paid its lobbying firm to resources that benefit survivors.
USC must quit its affiliation with the lobbying firm immediately. That's kind of like our first demand.
We tried to press USC for reaction to this movement and today's sit-in, but no one was available to comment.
For those of you that couldn't make it today, don't fret. You can still call your local policymaker to give your input on the issue. For Annenberg Media, I'm Tanvi Varma.
Our other big story tonight, an announcement many have been expecting. Former Vice President Joe Biden released a campaign video saying he's in the race for president.
That's why today I'm announcing my candidacy for President of the United States. Folks, America's an idea that's stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It gives hope to the most desperate people on earth. It guarantees that everyone is treated with dignity. We can't forget what happened in Charlottesville. Even more important, we have to remember who we are. This is America.
Biden's 2020 platform includes an active approach to combating climate change and full support of the Paris Climate Accord. He's an advocate for free public education and believes in universal pre-kindergarten. He aims to address income inequality by increasing tax credits for low-income families and supports a raise in minimum wage. When it comes to gun control, Biden advocates for strong control measures that include a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines.
Biden's 2020 run for president is not his first. He also ran in 1988 and 2008 unsuccessfully. In 1988, Biden suspended his campaign after accusation of plagiarizing a speech came to light. He spent more than $3 million on that campaign. In 2008, he lost again, but was selected as Barack Obama's running mate and later became vice president. President Trump reacted to Biden's third announcement in a tweet welcoming him to the presidential race and warning him about the road ahead. Trump tweeted, "Welcome to the race, Sleepy Joe. I only hope you have the intelligence, long in doubt, to wage a successful primary campaign. It will be nasty. You will be dealing with people who truly have some very sick and demented ideas. But if you make it, I will see you at the starting gate." Biden and President Trump have previously engaged in Twitter warfare, but Biden has not responded to this latest tweet. Meantime, former President Obama has not yet endorsed Biden, but said through a spokeswoman that selecting Biden as his running mate was one of the best decisions he's ever made.
Although Biden is a front-runner in presidential polls, his announcement comes just weeks after two women came forward accusing him of inappropriate behavior. Biden issued an apology in response to the allegations, saying he often expressed affection, support, and comfort, but he never acted inappropriately.
I shake hands, I hug people, I grab men and women by the shoulders and say, you can do this. And the boundaries of protecting personal space have been reset, and I get it. And I'll be much more mindful. That's my responsibility.
Biden then joked about the accusations during a speech at a conference in D.C. earlier this month.
I just want you to know I had permission to hug Lonnie. We had permission. But it's up to, by the way, he gave me permission to touch him.
While the crowd responded with cheers and laughter, some said the jokes made light of sexual misconduct. Twitter has been buzzing with comments from political experts about Joe Biden's third shot at the presidency, both positive and negative. Former Obama chief strategist David Axelrod applauded Biden's launch video, saying, "Energetic, smart. Joe Biden's kickoff video essentially bypasses the primaries and goes right to the main event, assailing Donald Trump, putting Charlottesville front and center." CNN and Telemundo contributor Ana Navarro Cardenas cheered on Biden, saying Biden is everything Trump's not. He knows policy. He's a uniter. He calls for our better angels. He's empathetic, draws on his own grief to console and encourage others through theirs. He laughs easily. He's decent. Gold leaf and wealth do not define him. Not everyone is a Biden fan. Rolling Stone senior writer Jamil Smith called out Biden's questionable history with Anita Hill, tweeting, "Other than Anita Hill hanging up on him, I'm unsure how this could have gone worse for Joe Biden. Serves him right. He had 20 years to apologize, and he tried this right before launching a presidential campaign. Probably thought it would stay secret, too."
There are now 20 Democratic candidates for president. This includes 6 sitting senators, 4 sitting members of Congress, and 2 mayors. Let's take a look at the leading candidates. Second in the polls for Democratic presidential nomination is Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Sanders was runner-up in the 2016 Democratic primary, where he lost to Hillary Clinton. His campaign slogan is "Not me, us." Oakland native Kamala Harris is currently in third. Harris is the second African-American woman to be elected to the United States Senate and has championed liberal civil rights agenda. Fourth in the polls is Mayor of South Bend, Indiana, Pete Buttigieg. At 37, Buttigieg is the youngest Democratic candidate. As a former lieutenant in the Navy, Rhodes Scholar at Oxford, Harvard graduate, and the first openly gay candidate. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren is 5th in the polls. A former Harvard law professor, Warren was the first major candidate to announce a presidential run. She has proposed a tax on the wealthiest Americans. At number 6 is former Texas Congressman Beto O'Rourke. In 2018, O'Rourke narrowly lost to incumbent Senator Ted Cruz. O'Rourke has leveraged his social media presence to continue his message of red state liberalism.
If young adults show up to the polls, they're going to be the largest voting bloc in 2020. So we spoke to a few students about what issues are most important to them.
Right now, I think more than ever, with the impending healthcare shortage, there's not going to be enough people to take care of a lot of people. So now more than ever, we need it to be affordable for everybody. I'm not read up on every single person's policies, so I would like to be a thoroughly informed voter. So by the time I do vote, I'm ready to roll.
I personally am interested in watching the debate on healthcare. I know lately there's been a big push for single-payer systems and universal healthcare.
These students were big on health care, but there's a stark contrast between older and younger voters when it comes to the issue. According to the Kaiser Foundation, pre-existing conditions is the most important part of health care, with 65% of Americans saying it's a priority, as well as lowering drug prices. Only 48% of all Americans, however, want a national health plan. But young voters are overwhelmingly in favor of universal health care. So let's take a look at some of the stats about how young voters see the issue. According to Politico, 72% of Gen Z voters and 69% of millennials support Medicare for All. Why is health care such a strong issue for young voters? Well, a poll by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services found that nearly 1/3 of young adults are uninsured. That's the highest out of any group. They also have the lowest access to employer-based insurance, and nearly half of uninsured young adults say they have problems paying their medical bills. Nearly all Democratic candidates have staked out support for expanding health care coverage, with some advocating for single-payer programs.
We spoke to the incoming president of the USC College Democrats Club about Biden's early lead in the polls. He thinks other candidates might gain momentum as the race goes on.
I think his lead comes from his name recognition. No disrespect to Vice President Biden over his long career, but I think everybody knows who he is. And so when they see his name on that poll, then they'll check that box, regardless of what he's running for. It'll be interesting to see if that continues. Yeah, I think people kind of sleep on Senator Warren and Senator Booker a little bit too much. They've both got a long and storied track record through their time in the Senate, and I think that just because they're not polling quite as high as everybody else right now in the race, that people are kind of forgetting that they exist. I think that both of them are in it to win it and are in it for the long game as well. So we wouldn't be surprised if over time their numbers kind of raise a little bit more compared to everybody else.
Pierce said his favorite candidate is Elizabeth Warren because she continues to introduce new policies. We reached out to both college Republicans and Young Americans for Freedom, but they did not respond.
Democrats will need to reach young voters to have successful campaigns, but many USC students admit they don't even know who's currently running. We asked undergrads how many candidates they could name other than Biden.
Can you name any other candidates?
Yeah, so you have Sanders, the Starbucks president, or ex-president, I don't remember his name, the 1% Indian woman.
I heard of, I believe her name is Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, yes.
Kamala Harris?
Kamala, yeah.
Okay.
Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, is Beto running?
Yeah.
Beto O'Rourke.
Candidate.
Kamala Harris. Beto O'Rourke. There's so many others that they all blend together.
I know their face, but I really don't know their name.
Top of my head, I'm kind of blanking on them.
I don't think I can.
Well, it looks like we're in for a very interesting presidential race, huh?
Yeah, I can't wait to exercise my right to vote.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a very interesting election next year.
All right.
It sure will. And that's all we have. So thanks for watching See It Live. From everyone here at Annenberg Media, for the last time, I'm Susie Plascencia.
I'm star correspondent Anwar Stetson.
And I'm Arlissa Norman. You can watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com.